And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before.
1 2 1 2.
And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Yes, experiencing technical difficulties is accurate. Okay, you can hear me now? Cool. I can't hear my audio though. All right, so let me just set this back up.
Not going back. Today, our border is secure.
I cannot hear it.
Today, our border is
So
secure.
you can hear it? I cannot hear my
is restored.
clip.
Inflation is plummeting.
So I might
Incomes
have to
are
abandon it.
rising.
Let's see. Okay. I think we're good now.
We will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years, in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far.
So we knew that was going to come, and he has a right to do that. I'm not going to give too much extra credit for not allowing illegals to come over, but he did do that. We were waiting for that. The economy stuff we're going back to the old Trump stuff where you just say it. You just say it might be true, it might not be true. The economy's doing great. How do we measure that? Why would you say that? Not that it's terrible, or it really depends. And how much credit do you give the president for the economy in the first place? So Trump's doing this thing where you just talk about it as if it's true and then just keep it moving. It's a smart tactic. It's worked for him.
Far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States, but we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder
That is good.
rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125.
Interesting that he's talking about the murder rates. But this is the beginning of the speech where he started talking about his accomplishments. I didn't know it was literally 0 aliens admitted, which is good. And then, of course, we get to the standard Republican talking points, gas prices.
Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
I think this speech showed how Trump is at his best when he is being tested. Because this beginning of the speech, it didn't really have it didn't set a trend or a theme for the State of the Union. I mean, it's called the State of the Union. We want to know what is the theme. I guess he wanted it to be winning, and it kind of went sideways because, so you talk about winning too much, but that's in a political sense. And then you bring up the U.S. Olympic hockey team, it kind of throws it off. So right now they're clapping over the U.S. Olympic hockey team. And I'm not against the hockey team. I'm not against the hockey team, but it kind of throws things off. So I don't think it was well constructed. Who's writing the speeches now? Stephen Miller was so much better. Bannon and Stephen Miller. I know they're just speeches, but they used to be really good. They used to be tailored to Trump. So when he did his ad libs, it fit because the speech itself fit. And now we're not really seeing that. So I don't know what's going on with the speech writing. I don't even know who's writing them anymore. But they're not where they used to be. So he got through that, talked about tax cuts, of course. You see, this is all the standard fare. These are things that you really wouldn't expect from a MAGA type president, at least not like from the forefront. You would expect something different than this. Now, I'm not here to knock the speech, though. It's pretty cut and dry and all that. But when you talk about basically being fiery, being contentious, being back and forth, that's when Trump is at his best.
Our heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them.
Now, his actions are not matching the rhetoric, but it is good rhetoric. That's what you want to hear. So this is later on in the speech, and you can tell, even just from the clip, he warmed up. and take a look here after they're done.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance.
That was a bar right there. That was a good line right there. Because I never even thought of it that way. That was really well said, because he was like, well, not only did they do it, keep in mind they would do it again. And he's absolutely right. I think right now the block is hot. We saw Kamala walk back the border stuff and Biden at the end tried to shore it up because the border crossings kind of went down as they got closer to the election. But we all know Trump's right. I mean, they're rioting right now to protect Somalis. So that was really, that was actually a really, really good moment. Let's talk about voting.
Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens.
Trump is on the right side of a 70-30 issue there, I think. So that's not bad at all.
It's a tough.
This is the Israel portion, which, I mean, wasn't even, he's been very careful on the Israel-Iran stuff. We didn't hear anything about anti-Semitism or anything like this, but this is on recovering the hostages.
It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job.
Perfectly fine to say. So, but the big takeaway for me from the speech is that the only part that was worth anything to me is when Trump went at the Democrats, basically said, "You're crazy." He literally said, "You're crazy." And they looked crazy when they couldn't stand, when he just says, he said, "Stand if you're for protecting America first," or something like that. I forgot the exact verbiage. And they didn't stand. And he said, "Look, they're crazy." That's Trump at his best. He's 79, I believe, or 80 years old. Still has it from that standpoint a little bit, at least, Donald Trump. But it's very interesting what we saw with Al Green. I want to talk about Al Green real quick. Is his name Al Green, or we just call him Al Green because he just a typical black? I don't know. I've seen this guy so many times. I don't even follow him though. He always comes up when something wild is happening. That's when he really comes up. So he's in the background. You can't see it here well, but he's holding up a sign that says, "Blacks are not apes." Dem rep Al Green ejected from Trump primetime. This is wild, man. This is absolutely wild. Dem rep Al Green ejected from Trump primetime address for second year. He was forcefully removed from the House chamber for a second year running. This time as President Trump delivered the State of Union address. I don't know what this dude is up to. I don't know what this dude is doing. So he's getting eliminated. But this is real, though. I kind of like it from the standpoint of, I know not the sign is real, but it should be more contentious, I think. That's him. That's him walking out. I don't know if the sound's playing on that clip, but that's him walking out with the sign, and they're yelling USA. I'm telling you, man, Dems are they're gonna fumble the bag because right now the Republicans, GOP, are kind of struggling from the standpoint of See, here's before I get back to Al Green. The right is not the same as the left, even though I talk about it from the establishment standpoint, and you could argue that Trump is establishment, but put that aside. The right is a hodgepodge of different coalitions. And that's why the MAGA thing was so big, is because it kind of showed the coming together of the disaffected, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard types, the Barry Weiss types, even the Nicole Shanahan types, those coming together with the MAGA where they were never really together before. And now I'm going back to 2024. I was very critical of Trump leading into it for basically he abandoned it. He abandoned whites. But it worked out because he went to the Libertarian Party and got them aboard. Dave Smith and Alton, Clint Russell, all of them aboard. Now, I think they've abandoned ship at this point. Obviously, everybody has, other than, certain people. But he got them together for the vote. So you got the Libertarians together. You got the MAGA together. So you've got this hodgepodge of people together. Then you got the blacks kind of on there. Then you got the Mexicans on there. I was critical of him at one of the speeches, having them, Mexican, I think it was in Texas, getting up and speaking in Spanish. I'm like, what are we doing? But it turned out that it worked to get the vote. So under all this, that's really, if you weren't going to do a true State of the Union, then that's what I think Trump really needed to accomplish, was to say, I'm still with you guys. He had the young people. People were doing the Trump dance. I mean, he had the culture for a second. Nobody's really doing that now. And I think that's, if he was going to do something where it's going to be this Raha type thing, this propaganda stump speech, it would be trying to say that I got you guys still. We're still together for the midterms. And I think what we saw is Trump didn't attempt to do any of that. He didn't bring up the Epstein files at all, because it's a losing argument right now. It's a losing discussion. I'm using Notebook LM a lot, and I have the transcript of the speech in here, and I'm just going to bring up, did Donald Trump bring up Epstein at all? Of course he didn't, because it's not a strong thing, but look up and see if he brought it up. The transcript is in the notes. And I'm going to see if he brought that up. I don't think he brought that up. And you would say, well, why would he bring up Epstein? Well, that should be a position of strength for Donald Trump. It was the MAGA right. It was that coalition that said, we need the Epstein files. You've seen J.D. Vance said it. Now we know Kash Patel said it. And now we know that was all BS from them. But you couldn't even lie and present it as, look, I released the 3 million or whatever files. We've unprecedented. We still have investigations going. He didn't bring up the DOJ at all. So Pam Bondi's her days are probably numbered. He backed DHS more than he did. He didn't even bring up the DOJ. But you would think that you would spin it, because he said the economy is great. Well, that's just a spin job. Why wouldn't he say the Epstein? Probably that would have riled up the Democrats. Maybe that's why he wouldn't. But I would have went straight at it. I mean, that's the Trump style. I would have went straight at it. I know it's BS, but it's not BS. He released some stuff. I released these files. We got investigations. Maybe if he could say that, I don't know. It's kind of awkward because Pam Bondi and Kash said there wasn't going to be any, but you're just lying anyway. And it's leading to people getting hemmed up. Prince Andrews is leading to others having to resign. In a way that is unprecedented. We know it truly came from Thomas Massie, but if you're Donald Trump, this is politics. I released it. I mean, Thomas Massey did do the bill, but you just get up there. It's BS. I mean, it's no different than if you work at a job and you got to talk about the state of your team or your position. You don't add in nuance that's not going to make you look good. That's just kind of stupid. You say, well, this is what I accomplished. We released the files. I mean, say it. He didn't say it because the coalition is fractured. Your Ian Carrolls, your Candace Owens, they're fractured. So Trump's dealing with a fractured base that he's not even pretending to bring back together. The only thing that you could say that he would do to try and not fracture it more is he didn't bring up Jews or Israel in a divisive way. He only really brought it up from the standpoint of the hostages. And other than that, I don't think he even brought up, did he bring up Iran directly? I think he brought it up from Operation, was it Midnight Hammer or whatever it was called, with dropping the bombs. And so that wasn't even really, I mean, that was kind of controversial to the base, but the way he brought it up wasn't even really, and I'm against it, very strongly against it, and I wasn't even rubbed the wrong way about it. So that's the only thing you could say he did to keep in mind the coalition, but he didn't do anything to try and make that stronger. And maybe that's not the right speech for it. I don't know, but that's what I would want. If I were Donald Trump and I'm going into this speech, I don't want the tired same old. I don't want that. You can put in there the taxes, the gas, or whatever. You definitely want to put in the immigration stuff to try to come from a standpoint of strength. But then I want to come in and kind of keep the MAGA thing together. And it's like they've almost totally abandoned that. So the speech from a standpoint, I think I'm torn on the speech. There's some good moments from Trump. Trump's older though now. I mean, he doesn't have the fire. He doesn't have the creativity. His ad libs aren't the best ad libs. They're kind of just weird now. They're kind of off topic. They don't add as much. But I did confirm in the transcript, Donald Trump did not mention Epstein in the State of the Union address. That's a mistake. I'm sorry. That's just a mistake. Because it's the elephant in the room, and you have a chance to put it out there in your own spin with everyone there. And to me, not bringing it up makes me wonder, like, are you afraid of something in it? Because Trump really wasn't brought up in it in any way. I know there were some allegations in there, and I'm still looking through it, and there was nothing in there that I saw that was tangible. Somebody tell me if you've seen something else. I haven't dumped them into a AI. I know some other people have had them. Because my whole thing with the Epstein thing is Israel. I'm not as into the other stuff. I think it starts with why was it a blackmail ring for Israel, and then we can go from there. But now it makes me question more. So I don't see how that's worth it. You know, if I'm questioning you because you didn't bring it up, then why even release the files? If you can't bring it up in this venue because you're afraid of it for some reason, it's not a good look. Very bad look for Donald Trump on that. Very disappointed with Donald Trump on the Epstein. Even with the poor release and the binder, nothing burgers and all that, you still can do a fake. You're all about fake kind of positioning of things, and you can't do it with the Epstein files. So then you have the governor of Virginia who won. I forget who's the Jew woman. I forget who. I don't know her. I don't even know her. And I didn't even forget. I never even knew her name. I've seen her. I know she beat Winsome Sears, but the governor of Virginia accused the president of unprecedented corruption and said, quote, the cover up of the Epstein files. So you don't bring it up, but they bring it up anyway. So I think that's probably one of the biggest omissions. And you didn't need to make it a 15-minute discussion, but you could have hit that as something. I'm surprised he didn't bring up the release of the MLK files. And I didn't see much there when I looked at it. I didn't look at it in depth though. But did he release JFK files too? I think he still should have propped that up more as transparency. I don't know why that was left out. All that. I don't know why that was left out. That's a mistake. I mean, I hate to say it, even the UFO stuff he said he's gonna release. He could even add that we're gonna continue that with the UFO stuff. We've already done it with the Epstein, MLK, JFK. If he did, I forget if he did release new stuff on that. But that could have been that quick. It could have been a couple lines. But so you get Al Green, so you get this black, just nothing like, and you might say, if you're new to the channel, you might say, well, you look kind of dark. You look kind of like Wesley Snipes dark, aren't you? Black? What are you talking about? No, I'm not black. Not in the way that Al Green looks at a black. Not in the way that the blacks look at a black. Now, if you are in the white nationalists, if you're on the right side, how they look at blacks genetically, then yeah. But I'm not going to argue if they say black is a social construct, and if they say Rachel Dolezal, people have argued with me online that Rachel Dolezal, they don't even say she's black, but they like, why do you care? It's perfect example. If you don't know, she's the white who pretended to be black and has dreads now. But there's nothing dumber than a black holding up a sign that says, quote, black people aren't apes. I mean, it's just complete. I mean, Democrats should be up in arms about this. How do you fumble the bag? Trump's coalition is falling apart. The polling is down. And I don't know if it's as down as the mainstream media is saying, because there's still the Trump derangement syndrome out there, but it is down. It's clearly down across the board. Even Rich Barris, who's not a Trump hater, one of the best pollsters out there. His show is just unbelievable. I love his show. He says the polling's down. The polling's down. And I'm not a big believer in the polling, but it feels down. The energy's off. The coalition's fractured. And even your own MAGA pollsters say it's down. It's down. And it's typical. And it's typical on top of that for during midterms for the polling to be down. It always is. This is how it was in the first term. It's not like this is new. I think it was maybe even a little bit lower in the first term for some of the same reasons. So all of that polling is down, and all Dems have to do is not fumble the bag. It's like you're at the bar, you're hollering at the girl. She's waiting for you to ask her for the number. She's waiting for you to take her back to the hotel or the crib or wherever. She's just there basically, titties out, everything. She's just like, when's this nigga gonna take me? And that's where the Dems are right now. All you have to do is don't fumble the bag. Don't talk about the trans stuff. Don't nominate women. And then, so for the rebuttal, you put another woman on the stage. I understand she just won Virginia and it's an important state in a way. But why don't you just keep the women in the background for a half a second? Is that too much to ask? Just put them in the background. Nobody respects a woman CEO like that. Not in politics. I'm not even talking about business. And that's not a diss on women if you're new to the channel. It's just in the political mindset, men lead. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even Dems don't like the women leading. I mean, I think that's been proven. So all you have to do is just not fumble the bag. All you have to do is just not talk too much. All you have to do is say, pay the tab and say, damn, I'm getting tired. You want to go back to the crib for a coffee or something? Do you drink tea? That's all you have to do. Just don't mess it up. Don't trip. Don't make an ass out of yourself. And it's all right there for you. So what do they do? How do the Dems handle that position? And they're finally in a position of strength after Trump had the cultural win and all that. They have a black show up to the State of the Union event, the State of the Union address, with a sign that says black people aren't apes. You damn ape, would you get out of the way? It's almost like the better analogy is you are doing smooth. You're good at the bar. You got the, not that I condone, out of marriage sex or anything like that, but that's just what it is. You've got it all lined up. And it's almost like one of your homies came over and was like, and held up a sign like, men shouldn't rape women or something like that. And you're like, what? What are you doing, bro? Like, you're just killing the whole vibe. And then it's your boy, so you kind of have to pretend like, oh, you don't throw him too much under the bus, and now you don't get any ass for the night. And that's kind of what the Dems are going to mess this up. I don't think they can mess up the midterms. There's no way. The Republicans are so just whack right now. But for 2028, they absolutely could fumble the bag. Absolutely could fumble the bag. They could nominate AOC. They could nominate this Virginia governor. They could nominate Kamala. Could you imagine that? Running that thing again? It's a possibility. How about Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom goes to this event. You've probably already seen it. If you haven't, I'm not exaggerating. He's at some black event, and they're so phony with the blacks. He's sitting down with the blacks, and he's basically like, black, I'm just like you. I got low SATs. I'm dyslexic. I'm stupid. I'm just like you. We're relatable. It's so awkward, man. It's just, this is going to be entertaining. This is really going to be entertaining to see this, to see how bad the Dems do here. They've been handed victories to me, easy, on a platter. And then they put the Virginia governor up for the rebuttal, which is wah, wah, wah. Nobody's listening to that. Nobody, and they try to force the applause with it, like, woo, woo. It's like nobody, no, that was not organic. I mean, it was so dry and bad. Even Rubio, remember Rubio when he took the drink of water? As dumb as that was and awkward as that was, at least it was a moment, get an A or an F. This was the worst. It was a C-, the rebuttal. They're just, the Dems are almost more incompetent than the right now. They're going to drop it. I don't think they're going to be able to handle it. I don't know. Maybe the midterms aren't going to be as bad. If this is the way they're going to handle it, blacks are not apes. That's what we're going to do. All you have to do is talk about Epstein. Even from their side, obviously I don't agree, but you talk about, and I can see how people who aren't paying attention will say ICE is out in the streets offing people. That's a very powerful message if you don't know what's really happening. If you don't know that they earned being offed, not that obviously I want anybody to be offed, but if you earn being offed, then that's what it is. But most people don't know what's happening. They're already on that side. It's a rallying point. So all you have to do is talk about Trump's ICE came in and they're supposed to be deporting people, but they're offing protesters. That's a powerful message, right or wrong. There's a lot of powerful messages that are really easy for people to understand. And you can go to young people and say, is this the guy you voted for? And for various reasons. And the message that they come in with is blacks aren't apes. That is really bad because young people are online and young people can see, you know what? In a way, you can understand an ape. When an ape apes out, it's to fight over a woman because they're in one female ape because they're in the jungle. It's to fight to be the apex ape or the alpha ape of the troop or group of apes. You can see why. But when you see a video of blacks aping out on the subway, we saw the video that went viral. Dems know that Dems watched that too, right? There's a video that went viral. I'm sure you saw it, where there's young ladies on a subway and there's a white, and who knows what happened. I don't know who was in the right or wrong or whatever, but there's a young white woman there, and she's off to the side, and there's a bunch of black, and they're about the same age, it looks like, a bunch of black women, young ladies, and the blacks are you can see they're going to the chimp mode gradually for whatever reason. I don't know if they had legit reason or not. And the young lady there's a stop, and the door opens up, and she stands right outside the door, and right as the door is closing, she drops a little hard ER. And she does it very casually, didn't even really yell it, just kind of looked out the doors, like, just dropped it real quick. And then the black women on the subway, they just completely ape out. Just completely chimp out, try to open up the door as the train's moving. It's one of the best videos you'll ever see in your life. And the young white woman almost reminded me of the goth-like alternative girl from Breakfast Club, who was just nonchalant, kind of savage, but really, even keel. And she's just casually walking as the black young ladies are just completely in chimp mode over a word. Like, they could have chimped out on her at any moment during the confrontation, but she drops the hard ER, then that's the trigger. Do Dems know that Dems see that? So that's not to say blacks are apes, but it's not a good, maybe not right now. And I think a lot of Dems know the Trump story with the black apes video, and maybe a lot of people don't know with it. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who don't know that it was whoever Trump's responsible for it, but it was just a clip at the end of an election integrity thing, and it was just an auto. Everybody knows how TikTok works. It's just an auto video that they didn't edit. I've done that a million times where it's like, oh, I forgot to edit this or whatever. So you post it up, and it was a video on 2020 election integrity, and then it auto flipped to and it really wasn't. The video was trying to make blacks monkey, in my opinion. Who cares? Because I remember looking at it. I know Biden was the monkey in it too, but I forgot. Oh, it was because they had I forgot what politician, but they had a fat politician as a pig. So I'm like, okay, they are associating something here, in my opinion. I forgot which politician it was, but who cares? But that Trump didn't mean. I kind of wish Trump did mean to post. How much more hardcore would that have been if Trump had posted the Obamas as monkeys on purpose? That would have been hardcore. Just be like, I don't care. Deal with it. Now what? That would have been like, oh man, that's an alpha right there. Trump's like, I'm president, I'll do it, whatever. But no, he didn't. It was an accident. Then he kind of threw it on an intern or whatever. But so Al Green comes in and holds up the sign. Do you see how stupid that is? I guess maybe I watch politics too much, so it doesn't work on me. Maybe it does work for the normies. I don't know. But I can only speak for myself. And I don't think it works for the normies. The normies see these viral videos. They're not watching MSNBC. So we all see the viral videos of blacks chimping out. So it's just not funny to say blacks aren't apes. It's just like, it just makes you think like, I don't know. Maybe they're not apes, but maybe often they're ape-like. It just doesn't work, man. People might not say it out loud, but that's what people are thinking. Just be honest about it. That's Al Green just coming in with the clutch. The GOP loves that. They absolutely love that. Why did they kick him out? He refused to put the sign down. He was escorted out by the sergeant at arms. They should just let him stay there. I don't even know why they kicked him out. That was a mistake. I would have left him right there. It's not helping. That does not help Dems at all. In the room, it was a lot going on. Trump, in that room, Trump we're all waiting for, was Trump going to talk about the tariff decision with the justices right there in the front? And he did. He kind of indirectly called them out. And he was cordial to them walking in, but he called them out. Trump is a pedo, and I assume he's referring to me as a sellout. I don't have enough. I have never dug into the Epstein thing from the pedo side of it. So I'm not, maybe he was. I've said it on other lives. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to say he's a pedo, though. I don't have enough to say that. And that's not the main story. Why are you talking about the pedos? The main story is, if you really cared about the pedos, you would say, well, why is everything surrounding Israel in this story? Why are there so many Jews involved in this story? Involved in a story about, in your mind, pedos. Wouldn't you care about who's doing that? No, it's just more BS from people scared to name the Jew. I don't have any tolerance for it. And really, Nick really opened me up to that. Even before Nick Fuentes, I never really talked about it from a pedo standpoint. You heard me, and I did tweets where I said Trump laid out Trump's covering for Epstein, connections to Israel, all the connections from Epstein to Israel, which are numerous in so many different angles, from the tech side, from the Peter Thiel side, to former prime minister. So many connections to Israel. That's the side that I covered it on. But Nick Fuentes did open me up to it when he was talking about, and he has a very valid point. I don't know why we don't have adult conversations about these type of topics with, what's underage, overage, who's deciding this type of thing. But the point was, that's not the heart of the scandal. There are millions of people, guys who are in prison, or I don't know if it's millions, but it's a ton of people that you can find predators, like that Alex Rosen guy or whatever his name is, runs around finding pedos, and there's other people running around finding people, guys who want whatever, young people. There's tons of them. There is only one guy that I know of that has done corruption at this level on behalf of Israel. Only one. So that's the discussion. That's the unique aspect of the Epstein. So you had Ryan Grimm, and I did an AI slop on this, but Ryan Grimm, I was very, very heated at Ryan Grimm when he got on with Piers Morgan and he's talking about Epstein. Can you connect Epstein to Mossad? And it's really complicated. And this is what he does. And he was more of a global network. And literally, Ryan Grimm says it was more like Mossad worked for Epstein. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's all bullshit to obfuscate the truth from tying Israel. Michael Tracy doing the same thing. Michael Tracy's kind of in the lane where Nick Fuentes was talking about, where do we have enough to talk about the pedo stuff? But the difference is Michael Tracy does not tie it back to Israel. Why is that? What is the scandal then? He doesn't, my understanding is he doesn't think it's a scandal at all. So, Cyan says, I'm guessing a Gavin AOC ticket. Ugh. Talk about fumbling bag. Gavin AOC ticket. That's horrific. Ugh. Because they don't even make a natural pairing together. They don't even seem like a good pairing. And it's possible that could be it. It's very possible. I think AOC, it makes more sense. Senator, I haven't kept up to where Schumer is, and then what's the Gillibrand? Is she still a senator? I thought Gillibrand was the weak one. I don't know if she's up or not, but I think senator is the better play for AOC. But she could go for the whole thing because she's an influencer. So why does she need to be in the Senate? It's not like she wants to do legislation, and not that the Senate does a lot of legislation, but she could always come back and do the Senate thing. So I think the better play for her actually would be Senate, but she's probably thinking I'm an influencer, just like MTG. MTG doesn't need Congress anymore. She's just a person to do appearances, and she made her money. AOC made her money. I don't even know what Ilhan Omar wants. Maybe she's making more money. I don't know. AOC Newsom would be an embarrassing loss. If Newsom is the head ticket, if he can just get out of his way, it wouldn't be. I mean, if you can just get in front of blacks and not act stupid, like, you don't have to be hard. So Trump's pretty good in front of blacks because he doesn't try. I mean, he's done the stupid thing about bigging up like Nicki Minaj and all that, but as far as like if he's around because he's good at retail politics, if Trump's doing it, remember he went to the barbershop. Didn't he go to the black barbershop in 2024? It was great. He's just so good at that. He doesn't try too hard. And blacks pick up on that. Like, he's just himself. He's not trying to be, that's the problem with Newsom and saying, I'm just like you. I got low SATs. I'm stupid. It's just like, what are you doing? You're just trying too hard. He's inauthentic. RF says, Newsom destroyed my state. You wouldn't believe what I see on a daily. He destroyed California. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like on that side, California, I mean, that's how they want the country to be honest with you. They want the country to be high taxes. They want the country to be, that's my impression. I haven't been to California since like 24. Well, no, I was in California in 2019, right before the pandemic. Probably the last time I was in, I don't even remember, Palm Springs. Where was I? I forget where I was at. But I was in San Francisco in 2014, around there. Beautiful, man. San Francisco, what an amazing state. I mean, California. But he destroyed it. But the problem is that's what they want the country to be, though. So I agree that they destroyed it. I guess what you're from your standpoint, RF, is what you're saying is when you get to the general election, you've got to get enough independents. With JD Vance or Marco Rubio, it was an interesting moment where Donald Trump actually gave Marco Rubio more credit as far as like a more moment than JD Vance. He gave JD Vance the normal type of, hey, JD Vance, Vice President JD Vance. But when Marco Rubio got his acknowledgement, it was more of a big up than JD Vance. It was like, hey, Marco Rubio. And then it's like, oh, you know how Trump does his thing. Like, he's, I don't know, kind of like that guy who slaps you on the back. Like, hey, I think everybody seems to like Marco Rubio, which he's right. Like, I don't know where this came from. It's obviously the Israel thing, but everybody now, MAGA loves Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio's got more kind of momentum than JD Vance right now. Because when you're VP, it's just, and that's not even a knock on JD Vance. When you're VP, you just have to be in the background, basically. You can't outshine the president. And Marco Rubio has just become this meme, him on the couch or whatever, doing everything. And it's just been more powerful than the fat face JD Vance meme. So even if you have Marco Rubio, he could get more independence, I think, than Newsom. So I think you do have a point. You're more like your Liz Cheney types. It's like MAGA wants to get, Rubio is basically Liz Cheney, right? It's not much different. He was better on J6, but not much different. What does Liz Cheney and Marco Rubio really disagree on? So it's almost like MAGA is just in this It's like just vibes. This is the vibe I get from Marco Rubio, but it's not. There's no fundamental structure there on a philosophy. So the Liz Cheney Republican, the George Bush Republican, the Jeb Bush Republicans, they'll have no problem backing Trump when Marco Rubio is getting bigged up like this, because especially if they're going to hope Marco Rubio gets a chance. It looks like Ron DeSantis would have no chance because Marco Rubio is in the lane that you would expect Ron DeSantis to be in. But I mean, not that he could do anything about it right now. But what Marco Rubio, and then I think Trump said he may be the greatest Secretary of State of all time. And, he's always hyperbole, but it was a moment for Marco Rubio. It was actually a really big moment for him. It was one of the bigger stories from the night, actually. So I agree with you, RF. I think that would be trouble. Who do you, if it's Marco Rubio could overtake JD Vance very easily. That's why JD Vance came out and dissed Nick Fuentes again, because they're trying to associate him in a weird way with Nick Fuentes, more on that, like he's not Jew enough, he's not pro-Jew enough. And Marco Rubio is that, you kind of picture him in the Israeli Superman suit. That's why he's getting that push from the Israeli types. And they're gonna push Marco Rubio hard. He's the new Jeb Bush. And they're gonna push him hard. And you gotta give Marco Rubio, just from a strategic standpoint, you gotta give Marco Rubio credit. You gotta give Marco Rubio credit from the standpoint of he is not getting in the way. He's saying what he needs to say to fit that lane and let everyone else big him up. He's not even coming across, and he's the most ambitious, one of the most ambitious out there, but he's not coming across that way. JD Vance almost comes across more like, I just want to advance right now. So Marco Rubio's playing this perfectly right now. I would guess, if I had to guess right now, I'm talking myself into it, I think Marco Rubio would win. I think he would run, and I think he would win the 2028 nomination over JD Vance. I would have never thought that before. The stream, what's up, 2020? You know why I did the stream too, though? Somebody was, I don't even recognize the name, but somebody made a comment today. I posted another AI slap, and sometimes when you tell the truth and you're not like over the top with it, you don't attack the person, it kind of hits home better. So they didn't even clown me for the AI slap. They didn't even say this bullshit or you posting garbage, which they could have said perfectly legit. But they were kind of like, what's going on with the AI slap? I kind of missed the old format, like when you actually did a stream, when you actually turned on the camera, when it didn't sound like a robot. They didn't say all that, but that's all part of it. And I'm like, damn, that's yeah, that's true. So I'm like, let me just go live. Let me get did I have 4 cups? I probably had 3 cups of coffee tonight. That's why I'm still up. Finally worked. But I've been working out at night too, so it's just tough. But I fell off the last couple. I haven't been consistent the last couple of weeks, which is disappointing. Free Palestine. Okay. I'm not a free Palestine guy, but I'm more on that side than the Jew side. That's for damn sure. But I'm not a free Palestine guy. I'm just like, can we get back to America? Is that too much to ask? Why do I have to see every year 1 million Muslims bowing down in Times Square or wherever they're at? And then like right after that, it's like 1 million Jews doing whatever they do, jumping up and down. It's all like a sausage. Why am I looking at a sausage fest of Muslim men praying in the street of New York City than a sausage fest of Jews doing, I don't know what the hell they're doing, bouncing up and down? It looked like they were playing House of Pain Jump or whatever. Have fun, but damn, I miss when it was just like America, man. I just miss when it was just like we didn't have all that like propped up. So no, I'm not going to be flying a free Palestine. I don't give a shit about Palestine and what's happening. That's not my problem. I don't care about the Christians over there either. I know Tucker's been over there, and I mean that truly from a point of apathy. It's not to wish obviously any harm on anybody, but damn, what about the Christians here? Like, what are we doing? What about the Catholics here in America? What are y'all doing? What am I doing as a Christian man? What am I doing other than getting behind a mic and behind talking to tens of people? What am I doing? And talking and doing what? Even talking with them, joking about blacks with don't call blacks ape signs. That's real productive. Uh, Monsanto, yeah, we got to counter-react. That's kind of, and he's talking about the glyphosate. Is that what it is? The chemical often used in spraying for agriculture, kind of bigging it up. And he's like, what's going on with MAGA? So you get MAGA in, and the first thing RFKJ does is say, don't be anti-Semitic. It could be bad for your health, which I took as a threat. I don't think anybody else did. I don't know. I took it as a threat because it didn't make sense on any other level. And now Trump is basically bigging up, harmful chemicals. I don't know how that. I don't know. I can't really explain it, other than a complete betrayal. I mean, that's on a lower level. That's not what MAGA was really about, but that's what the coalition was about. He betrayed the coalition. And we'll see what happens with Tulsi Gabbard. I'm hearing that she's going to resign. I made fun of RFKJ, and I still do have some problems with him, but he's probably one of the best guys in the whole Trump administration. So I haven't really clowned him in a long time. He was eating those fries. I haven't clowned him since he ate those, shaken steak fries and the pop, knowing that he doesn't eat any of that nonsense. But big picture, he's been one of the better guys out there, actually. Tulsi, at least he's been consistent. He was always a Zio. Tulsi was always, I guess, a Zio looking back at it, but she's flipped on her positions for sure in the Middle East. So she's been a fraud. RFKJ is a part of the administration here, but that didn't come from him. So he should probably resign, but he's still one of the better ones. Pam Bondi's been disgusting. Chrissy Noem's been terrible. Trump's had some problems. 2020 says might start referring to RFK Jr. as R. Kelly Jr. The way he submits. I don't know, man. That's why I never want to go to jail. I don't know what happens in there. I'm too soft. I'm not built for it, man. I couldn't even do it. Did you see the Tyler, however you pronounce his last name? It was basically an expose, but a documentary. I put that in Opus as well. So we might as well take a look at that. I'm journalism, I think, here. Let me know if, obviously, if the sound doesn't work.
This is Lakewood, New Jersey, home to one of the largest and fastest growing Orthodox Jewish communities in America, having anywhere from 6 to 10 kids per family, causing the community's rapid growth to spill into the neighboring towns of.
So this is what I want to talk about too from this aspect. So he went into, looks like New York, New Jersey, Orthodox Jewish area. And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. There's pretty much in a lot of cities there are, but there's Orthodox Jewish areas in Cleveland, Ohio, but not like this. But there are some, so I'm kind of used to some of that, but this is on a different level. But I find it interesting that they take an area and they dominate, and they basically turn it into, not all of these are Zionist, so to speak, but I would still call them Zionist because every single one of them would say Israel has a right to exist, basically. 90% of them would say Israel has a right to exist. If you say that phrase, I think you're a Zionist. There's different levels to the Zionist game, though, but you're a Zionist. But they take an area and they segregate themselves. And these are some of the same people. This is the lineage of the same Orthodox Jews that were behind the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That was basically anti-segregation. I find it interesting that they are for anti-segregation for everyone else except for themselves. And you see that here.
Lakewood, New Jersey, home to one of the largest and fastest growing Orthodox Jewish communities in America.
So why do you have an Orthodox Jewish community? To keep your bloodline, to keep your culture, to police your own, to police your culture. Well, blacks, why wouldn't you want a black area, and not from the standpoint of you're so poor, you just have to live with the blacks? I mean, like a black area where there are kind of like Detroit, but it's not the same, but there's areas of well-off blacks and then poor blacks, and it's a black area. And you try to big it all up. You protect your culture. You don't settle for black fathers not being around. You don't settle for what I'm new to this researching, but calling it survival IQ, where what that is just basically basic instincts of an ape. You just go around having sex, maybe even worse than an ape. I don't know how they operate, but you go around having 9 baby mamas, and you got 12 babies or 5 babies and 3 baby mamas. And you have a black community that says, you're ostracized. You are persona non grata. It's not illegal, but you've brought shame upon the community. When you mess around in these communities, and it's in the documentary that Tyler did, they bring shame among you. We are Orthodox Jews. There are things that we do that it's Jew excellence. I'm all for that. I'm not even hating them for that. I do have a problem for them advocating for desegregation for every other community except for themselves. I do have a problem with that. But when you come from the standpoint of Jew excellence, there should be Jew excellence. There should be Asian excellence. And Asians do that. But it should be black excellence. It should be white excellence. I have no problem with that. I love black excellence. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't see it a lot. But, broken traditions, friend of the show, great example. He is an example. If you go to the channel, search YouTube for broken traditions, that is black excellence. So when I clown the blacks, it is not a broken tradition. If somebody like broken tradition that had, took offense, I don't blame them at all for me just blanketing, calling blacks apes or whatever the case is. But that it does not apply to broken traditions. It does not apply to all blacks. I wouldn't even apply it to Jason Whitlock, even though I kind of disagree with him on a lot of things now, but I wouldn't even apply it to him. This is Orthodox Jew, but it's the same. It's Jew excellence. It's little Israel. There's no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all. But that's what this is.
Having anywhere from 6 to 10 kids per family, causing the community's rapid growth to spill into the neighboring towns of Jackson, Toms River, Brick, and Howell, causing non-Jewish residents to fear that their town will soon be turned into Little Jerusalem, just like Lakewood.
The tactics within this community, I would liken it to organized crime.
You were the vice chairman of the Israel Advisory Committee for Donald Trump in 2016. How did you get a relationship with the White House? Who in the White House?
I think I don't want to say.
Who are we messing with here right now, Chris? Is this video a mistake, man?
I'm going to be honest. The powers out here are pretty immense.
It's not about Jackson. Jackson is a test case. If it isn't squashed soon, is going to take over the entire country.
It's already a problem in all the surrounding towns. You have billionaires from Lakewood being involved, people connected to the President of the United States.
In New Jersey, is there room for a...
This is journalism. And journalism is not dead. This is Tyler Oliveira. And this is what it looks like. Not Nick Shirley, even though these are nuanced topics, even though Nick Shirley, I do give him credit for exposing the, I don't want to get off on a tangent, the mess in Minnesota with the Somalis. What he was really trying to do was change the conversation off of Jews. He did a great job of it because it's a conversation we have to have, and we had to take it away from the Jews to have the conversation. It's legit reporting for the most part. I mean, there's things that you can kind of challenge, but obviously the core of the reporting of the corruption, absolutely legit. But he was doing it on behalf of Jews to take the conversation off of Jews. And that take isn't even about Jews. It's more of that was not organic reporting. And then he bigged it up, and then he gets, I think he might have got a Rumble deal. I don't know. He gets astroturfed everywhere. Tyler Oliveira does this report, and he gets his Patreon cut off. That's what happens when you do real journalism. He went down to I don't know where in India, where they literally have this poop throwing contest. He literally was in the poop throwing pit. That's journalism. So all the Jeet thing is just so out of control right now. They are so, I think it's a little bit better on X recently. A few months ago, they were just so, it was almost like you couldn't use X. I mean, they were worse than the Jews on X. So, but he goes there and they want to cancel him. Now he has credibility with me. He can go to the blacks or he can do whatever he wants. He done touched the sun here. Has full credibility. Even like a Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle made jokes. On Saturday Night Live, like a Jew, basically sketch comedy show. Literally. Made fun of the Jews on there. It was savage. Even with his cringe takes, he's got credibility with me after that.
Two-state solution.
No, there's clearly not. I think it's going to be a fight.
I ride around Lakewood.
This is very, very, very interesting.
The Jews here were not happy to see me after I asked how they afford 7 to 10 kids on a single income and if they were on welfare in Curious Joel.
How many kids?
And I gotta see. I haven't followed what Tyler did. I don't know when he did this, how long it was in the works, but it is very, it really high. It's high contrast to the Nick Shirley reporting, where it's almost like whether it was done on purpose or not. It's like, well, the Somalis aren't the only ones doing this, and in fact, the Jews are even more sophisticated. We're going to get to in a second. They've got their own Jew cops, basically neighborhood watch cops that act as cops. That's how sophisticated it is.
Do most people have out here?
17, 18.
How do they afford 17, 18 kids?
They are proud to do what the Torah says, that you need to be multiple and fruitful.
Oh, so we have a problem in our country with birth rates. But they don't have that problem. They segregate, and they don't want to just have babies. They want to have Orthodox Jew babies. So they don't do interracial marriage. You do that in here, you are gone. Then they have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids pumping them out. And they're white. Don't be a white and say, well, I want to have white babies. Oh my gosh. Racism. Here, it's like literally part of their credo. I mean, this is great from top. When is enough enough?
They are proud to do what the Torah says, that you need to.
So they're proud to do what the Torah says. They're proud of it. I mean, I'm gonna need you, white, to uncuck yourself. You've got to do it. And why do I say this all the time? Why do I say white? Because the blacks aren't going to. Who else is going to do it? Tell me. Who else is going to uncuck themselves and have enough influence to do something? What? The Jeets are going to do it? They're the underlings of these people. Who, the Asians? The Asians couldn't care less. They're too busy doing calculus, engineering. They don't give a damn. Cheating on tests in college. They don't care about none of this. Who's going to do it? Oh, so now you understand why I say, dare white, uncuck yourself, because we need you right now. Somebody needs to put up the bat symbol for whites. What does it look like? Unseasoned food? Whatever the bat signal is for white, a cracker, I don't know what it is. A saltine cracker, YouTube. Whatever that symbol is, I need you, super white, to come and act right. This is unacceptable to allow a country where not only they can have this pride, that a guy reports on it, basically, I mean, he's fairly neutral. They put him in a position where he has to say, wait a second, I don't understand this, but I think he's fairly fair. I don't think there's anything here inaccurate or like wildly inaccurate on the reporting, like he's trying to paint them in a light that's not true. And he gets cut out from Patreon. How? White. How do you stand for that? Why would you stand for that? Where are the Catholics? Where are the Christians? You have a birth rate problem. The State of the Union address doesn't even address it. In a State of the Union address, historically, you would talk about what's going well and what you want to change. Birth rates. J.D. Vance is supposed to be into changing that, kind of like the tech bros talk about it. But they don't really seem to care. So he goes to the community here, the Jewish community.
How do they afford 17, 18?
And the take is, I don't even hate you for it. Just we're going to have to politically crush you because you hate me if I want to do it. Or you hate me if I say, you know what, I'm kind of tired of every commercial. I'm in an interracial marriage, and I'm tired of every damn commercial being a black and a white. Why? It wasn't like that when I was growing up, and we were fine. There was no problem. So, and a lot of that is the Jew behind it. And then when you go to the Jew community, they get mad. They tear down his Patreon so he can't get paid. They call you anti-Semite, and you ask the Jew in their own word what's happening, and the Jew says, I'm proud of it. I don't want interracial relationships. I want Jew babies, basically, and multiple amounts.
17, 18 kids.
They are proud to do what the Torah says, that you need to be multiple and fruitful.
Yeah, it's just common sense, right? It's just common sense. The most fundamental, you eat, you sleep, you defend, and you fuck. That's the most fundamental parts of life. So right now, what you're seeing from the Jew, and I'm not even really knocking them on this. I will knock the Jew if I need to knock the Jew.
To have the privilege.
What you're seeing from them is the perfect intersection of civilization IQ and survival IQ. Civilization IQ is politics, controlling legislation, of controlling culture from a business standpoint, segregating, keeping people out, cutting off people's Patreons. That all that kind of stuff is civilization IQ, the structure of civilization, which you would expect Catholics to be very strong on, or even Protestants, Christians who created this great nation off of civilization IQ. Basically, the same IQ that goes into Africa and says, I'm bringing you as slaves. I'm paying the best of the blacks to enslave the other blacks. I pay them money. And you come here as slaves, and now you're in a civilization. And then, okay, I free you as the position, and we basically integrate you into a civilization, Western civilization. That's civilization IQ. Survival IQ is the Somali. I know how to cheat, lie, steal. I know who to be friends with. I know when to use a machete. I know I know when to take advantage of somebody who's allowing me to survive. I know in my Somali community, same type of thing. It's all Somalis. You don't really see Somalis fucking with other people. They don't even fuck with the blacks. We have sex with other Somalis, so we have our Somali community. That's survival IQ. So, dear white, you're done if you don't get a better balance of civilization. You are right now the redcoats who came back over during the Revolutionary War and said, we're going to march down the street and where is the fight? While the ragtag farmers from the revolution are in trees sniping and doing guerrilla warfare. You are doing civilization IQ when these survivalists, the Jeets, survivalists, to the point where they'll eat poop. It doesn't matter. And they multiply. You go to they erect 90-foot statues of monkey demon gods. Where's your 90-foot statue? Well, it's against the religion of course, idolatry. But you see, my point is, where's your forcefulness? You don't have a statue. You don't want a statue. I know there are some, but I don't support. But really, figuratively speaking, where's your effort, your care, the same type of care that would erect a tallest statue in the world of Jesus that you don't believe in, but you would have that same fortitude to say, not only are we taking down that dam through peaceful measures, of course, taking down that monkey god statue, we're getting you the hell up out of here. That you can't have that much power to be erecting a monkey god demon. So you got Somalis doing their effing thing. You got the Jews, then you got the Muslims, then you got the Indians, and the whole country falling apart because you don't have the civilization IQ to maintain the civilization, and you don't have the survival IQ for long-term success. So what are you doing? What good are you? You got the few people like Kerry Bowler or Nick Fuentes that actually speak out. And what do? The whites attack them. like to their own detriment. And the Jew, meanwhile.
How do you afford to study the Torah, though?
God help me.
Does the American taxpayer help you too?
Also, yes.
How do people afford to have such big families out here?
Who's the American taxpayer? That's you, white. That's you, whitey male. It's like 70% of the American taxpayer dollars is from the white male. Every single group coming here just literally financially raping the white male. And I know we got jobs or whatever, and because these topics are so hot, you can get fired from your job. But why can't we? It takes a uprising peacefully of people willing to say, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to go down like that. It's just not. And there's nothing they could do. I know it's difficult because they did such a smart job in basically breaking off the Catholics to be Zionists, breaking off the Christians to be Zionists. It's just the opportunity cost is so much. You can make money and operate your business, which is a church is a business, operating your church. You can make money, be profitable, maybe do the deal with the devil, which I think Charlie Kirk was doing. Or you can name the Jew and you can't even have a Patreon. You could name the Jew and you can't get views on social media. None of the platforms give you views if you're naming the Jew for the most part. So you see the opportunity cost. Why would Tim Pool name the Jew? So what? He can't. So everyone on his payroll loses money and the whole franchise goes down? No. So he's going to do the dance. The opportunity cost is just you got mouths to feed. So that structure has to be rebuked. And Donald Trump obviously isn't doing it. That's more important than any piece of legislation. I mean, it's just blatantly obvious. And the anti-Semitic label if you're not being labeled anti-Semitic nowadays, then you're just a clown. This is not even shock jock stuff. This is like boring. This is as boring as like a conversation about trans bathrooms is at this point. It's that blatantly obvious. And that's why Nick is like, that's why Nick's kind of taking a counter position, like Epstein's cool in a way, in some counter position, because he's like, what am I doing? What's my take today? Oh, there's the Jew again. Look, there's the Jew raping the American how many times I'm going to do that show? That's where Nick's at. I'm young in my journey, so I'm not tired. He's been doing it for 10 years, and now it's popular, so he's in a different place. I'm still learning how to walk, so I'm not tired with it yet. But it's got to get to that point where it's like, it can, and we are kind of progressing there. Ye and Nick and others have done a good job in bringing it to the forefront, but it's not there enough, obviously. We can't allow a guy's Patreon to be taken down because he did a documentary about a documentary about what's really happening in an Orthodox Jew neighborhood. How do we allow that culturally? How do we support a president that can't even speak on that? How? Why? What kind of legislation would I care about from Donald Trump if he can speak about the Somalis? He brought Nick Shirley there to the State of the Union address because he changed the conversation from Jews. Would he bring Tyler Oliveira there? No, obviously he couldn't do that. He'd be more likely to speak out against it than to big it up. It's the same thing. Very similar, same thing. But, the Jews are smarter, higher IQ. But they have a very dangerous, I'm not saying like violent, dangerous. Well, I guess you could say that in a way. But in this context, for like in the States here, they're not violent. Overseas, they are when it comes to the Middle East. But that it's a very potent, politically potent and cultural potent, because I look at this survival IQ and this civilization IQ thing as a NBA 2K create a player. So basically, we're saying that you have 100 points, and it's just simplifying it. You have 100 points, and you have to divvy it up between two things. And within the two things, you have athleticism. Survival IQ is speed. The blacks dunk, whatever, run fast, all that kind of stuff. Well, obviously, did you see the Barstool Jew guy? What's his name? I can't even remember. But he can't even run. No athleticism. But so that's survival IQ. Civilization IQ. You put points towards civilization IQ, you have less points for athleticism. You have less points for soul, dancing, charisma. So what the Jews have is a very strong intersection of high civilization IQ and high survival IQ. Maybe you could say they're 50-50. And you would say like a Somali is like 90% survival, sex. They're not really athletic, but sex, fighting, scheming, lying, stealing, raping, figuratively and literally, IQ, dominating in a street smart way, IQ, and 10% civilization. You could say blacks are 90% survival, 10% civilization. So what you've seen, what the Jew does is they've got a good mixture of both, and the white is like 90% civilization, 10% survival, but they're not even doing the civilization part right. Because if you're 90% civilization, you put a structure in place where you don't allow someone who goes against the First Amendment, which Jews constantly do, the at least the essence of it. Shutting down someone's Patreon is not technically against the First Amendment, even though I could probably make a connection there. It's not directly, it's in the spirit of against it. But if you're high civilization, white, Christian, whoever, then you won't allow that culturally. So you're even failing at that. So right now, to be honest, the whites are operating at a 10% civilization, 10% survival IQ. And you need to stop dear white, you need to stop making fun of the black right now, because at least the black is at 10% civilization, but they're at, the American black isn't that high at survival. But in Africa, worldwide, they're having babies, they're having sex. The Somali type black is high survival. So in a way, they're operating at a better level. If you have 100 hit points or whatever that bar is to divvy up between civilization, that's like book smarts and structural smarts and religion and faith, you're high there, but you only give it 10. You should be high there, but you're only using 10 points of that. You're leaving 80 points on the board that are just wasted. That's the criticism I have of whites right now. You've got 100 hit points and 10s being used on civilization and 10s being used on survival. But if you look at some of the blacks, Somalis, or whoever, in looking even worldwide, they've got 10 points on civilization and they're using up the race 90 on survival. That's better. Objectively, that's a better place to be. At least you're having repeated babies. That's the essence of survival. So this is not a game. This is really serious stuff here. And in the spirit of the State of the Union, that's something that maybe Trump doesn't think about or know about. I guarantee you, J.D. Vance obviously knows this. So you see the problem that a Nick Fuentes has with a J.D. Vance. A lot of people don't understand that is, yes, he talks about the interracial marriage part of it with J.D. Vance, obviously with Usha, is her name is, I believe. It was funny, Trump didn't name her. I didn't know if he even remembered her name. It was weird how he didn't name her. I think it's Usha Vance. So if J.D. Vance, even with the Jeet wife, if he had said, you know what, I'm going to defend my wife, of course, but I don't have a problem with Nick Fuentes' position. Interracial relationship is a choice. He doesn't have to want to be interracial. There's Jews in Jersey Jews in general that don't marry outside of Jews. There's blacks that don't marry or want to marry outside of blacks. That's their prerogative. What's the problem? Then the Groypers, Nick, I guarantee you they wouldn't be anti-J.D. Vance. They'd be like, that's based. They'd be like, I'm not for the relationship, but his take is based there. I can support that. A lot of people don't understand that.
There's a lot of people here that are on welfare. A lot of people are in Section 8. A lot of people that are on a bunch of different WIC, food stamps, stuff like that.
Sure.
Who does that sound like? It sounds like the Somalis.
If you go to any low-income communities, you're going to see that. They're all going to be on the different welfares.
You found people that are on welfare that have a lot of kids, but your headline did wrote, welfare addicted Jews.
The Jews here were not happy to see me after I asked how they afford 7 to...
Of course they're not.
Are you Tyler?
I'm Tyler.
Are you Tyler?
I'm Tyler.
Are you trying to do another anti-Semitism video?
How did I spread anti-Semitism? That's crazy you said that.
Life circumstance, different culture.
Oh.
So this is their way of...
Yeah, look at what happens when you ask the Jew questions. What is happening right now? I don't see him being disrespectful. The same thing that with Carrie Pigeon Bowler. She's just asking questions. He's not even doing what she did. He's basically just putting a mic to them and saying, tell me. All of a sudden they're honking horns, trying to get you canceled.
Like, listen, I know you're frustrated about some of the things we focused on. Is that kind of what I'm getting at? Sure. So give me some examples of how things were misconstrued. Yeah, what did I get that was wrong?
So it's not necessarily misconstrued. Well, it is misconstrued.
Oh, it's not misconstrued. Oh, it is misconstrued.
There's a lot of it that's, you'll cut a lot of it, cut out different words, make it sound a lot worse than it is. There's a lot of people here that are on welfare. A lot of people are in Section 8. A lot of people that are on a bunch of different WIC, food stamps, stuff like that.
Sure.
If you go to any low-income communities, you're going to see that. They're all going to be on the different welfares.
Okay, so they were on welfare.
Yeah, no bit of denying that.
Okay.
But again, it's the way you say.
Okay, but my question was, what did I misconstrue?
It's the way you twist it, the way you.
How did I twist it?
Not twist it again.
How did I-
Twist is the wrong
I'm
word.
just trying to understand where you're coming from.
Growing up in an extremely.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing that they fear more than the truth.
Dude, yo.
Oh, the insufferable hug.
What does that remind you of? The ICE protest. That's what that reminds you of. The whistling, that type of tactic. I find that interesting too.
I see.
Honking the horn. Why?
You say I misrepresent, and then they do that. Like, come on.
I'm not saying they're all good people. It's like I said, wherever you go, it's gonna be the idiot.
What are you saying?
There's always gonna be the assholes wherever you go.
I totally get it.
You talk about the community.
Yeah.
It feels like you're trying to create a narrative that you did not find.
Are you Tyler?
I'm Tyler.
Are you trying?
I think you found it.
What are your thoughts on the driving? What are your thoughts on the driving out here? I gotta ask you that. It's the most important question.
I don't want to talk about it.
The driving is crazy.
Okay.
Because the stop sign over there, they don't even stop. They just pass. You know, that's why so much traffic and accidents, and it's crazy.
You saw the Curious Joel video. Why was that video good?
That video was good because I've been in East Ramapo for as long as I remember. I also went to Spring Valley High School. I've been in the school system, and we've definitely seen a lot of things, especially since our school board was majority private school owners, mainly Jewish white men, and most of our school was...
Many what? The black is just so insufferable. Many Jewish white men? What is that? Exactly.
Mainly Jewish white men, and most of our school was...
That's what I mean. The civilization IQ is low. You see the black, they don't even understand. And it's like you're talking to a brick wall when you say, wait a second. Even if, let's forget about where they're from and all that. The Jew doesn't think they're white. Ask the Jew. And they don't know, they can't even compute it. Because the civilization, the intelligence it's low. At least the political, not overall, they have very high intelligence when it comes to popping out babies and doing other things, and that matters. When you talk to them about, like, logically, that doesn't make sense. Low civilization IQ.
Not Jewish, and they had control over our public school system over the past 10 years, purposely voting no on our school budget vote so that way we would fail, and we lost about 3-2 schools.
Basically, through block voting, Orthodox Jews won enough seats to control the East Ramapo School Board and went on to eliminate hundreds of public school positions like teachers and social workers, while approving millions of taxpayer dollars to be spent on their children's religious private schools, ultimately gutting the public school system.
All legal. This is better than the Somali scam because this is all legal. There's no FBI coming in that's going to be able to arrest on this. It's all up and up. All on the up and up. High civilization IQ.
For the estimated 9,000 black and brown public school students. What are your thoughts on the driving out here?
Very, very interesting. Just fascinating.
While diverting that money to their private religious schools.
They give us food that's rotten and it's cold and it hurts our stomach.
I ask you, do not take our music program away. I love playing an instrument. My brother would be crushed.
And the budget cuts were so devastating that in one instance, an elementary school...
Yeah, I'm going to comment on this. And V-Twin Breed says Usha is a plant. That man is as closeted as he can be. Well, we know, we saw some pictures. I don't know if you're just goofing around, but who knows? Go Chuck Yourself says, I think you're giving a black people more credit than they deserve. Yeah, I guess you can make that argument. Well, okay, probably because I'm saying high civilization IQ. No, you gotta need to get no, I'm not. I thought it was funny because I thought I've been pretty hard on blacks. But when I think about it, I think his context is me saying, no. If you tell me where I'm wrong, that's not specific enough. You have to be more specific. My take is that the white is not using up all of their NBA 2K create a player skill points. You have 100 skill points. You're not using it for civilization and you're not using it for survival. You're not using it to control the. That's what the Nick Fuentes take is. The people, because he had that video that went viral on Rumble where he was like, we're in a war or something like that. He's talking about a spiritual war and a political war. He's not talking about kinetic. He is a peaceful Catholic. I'm peaceful. I'm not talking about any type of kinetic type of thing. I'm talking about politically. If you are not using your civilization and you have the potential to get the high civilization IQ, you're not using it to control society in a way that it forms the way you want it to be, to protect it the way you want it to be. And you're definitely not survival mode. The most basic is having babies. And if you want to be pure in what we're talking about here, white babies, then the blacks are above you, or at least equal with you in America. But when you look at globally, the blacks are way above. In Africa, they're just popping out babies. Muslims just popping out babies. There's high birth rates in certain areas of this world. So help me understand. That's a better position to be in. If you want to argue your point, the most you could do is say blacks, you're on par with blacks. You are not in any way, shape, or form white. Dear white, you are not in any shape or form operating at a higher overall capacity. That's why I'm tired of hearing people saying the low IQ black. We're talking about a low IQ white. It's just a low IQ in a different place. You are not operating at any different or any better wavelength than the black. Absolutely not. And you can't get to your second point until you realize that. Your second point is, I agree with you, white people need to wake up to Zionist influence over America. You can't get to that point until you operate at a higher survival you could be in survival mode saying, wait a second, that's the position of even Tucker, the great replacement type of idea. You're not even in that survival mode. You're allowing a Trump appointee, Carrie Bowler, to get kicked off because she asked a Jew questions they didn't like. You can't put yourself you can't put yourself above the black who's chimping out over the hard ER. You cannot. I will not allow you to. Absolutely, you are not assessing the situation accurately, and we cannot do anything moving forward until you accurately assess the situation. If I'm wrong, explain it to me. The Epstein files are released and everyone's talking about pedos. Why aren't you talking about the Israel? Why aren't you talking about the Jew? Scared. That's what it is. It comes down to, I want to operate in the high civilization kind of structure of the Zionists that we have now. We're basically a colony. No, don't do that. I want an accurate assessment. V-Twin Breed says, to be honest, though, when our lifespans are averaging 55 to 75 now and generational wealth is becoming less tangible property, what is the point anymore? Yeah, that's a different argument. It's the checked out argument. And we are seeing that. We're seeing it a lot from the dating standpoint. Anecdotal reports that there are women that are like, I'm looking for a man, and they don't say white man, but they're looking for a man, and they're kind of checked out. And I would say that's disappointing. I'm not against that person who's checked out. I understand why. But that's why it's important to have children, because it's much harder to check out when you have children. It's much harder to check out. Even not to have more than you can afford, but just got to have. If you have a kid, it is very, very hard to say I'm checked out. It's just almost impossible to say it from an instinctual, from a survival standpoint. But that's a good point. I want to be honest about that. That's why you saw a lot of people going into drugs and falling into video games or whatever, into these vices. And that's why I think it's very important to find your faith. I think Jesus Christ, I think that's the answer. I tweeted that to Dr. Karlin Borisenko, friend of the show. And she disagrees with that, but obviously I will have to disagree with her on that respectfully. That's the only path I see, but whatever the faith is that works for you, so you're not checked out, that's what we need. This is a battle between Christians, it's Christians and Jews right now. It's a tale as old as time. It's 2,000-year-old political, non-kinetic battle. Yeah, I know it's difficult. It's difficult, but the first step, we have to acknowledge this, is the first step. Peter says people follow television programming, media, news, and follow politics that hide the truth. Yeah. It's just easier, man. It's, we go to work and you just, who cares? And that's kind of what the 90s were. I mean, none of this is new. The 99, I big up the 90s. I was just talking about the 99 Woodstock that went viral, and I just love Limp Bizkit. I'm a big Limp Bizkit fan. I love Limp Bizkit. Man, that gives me memories of good times back in the day. Limp Bizkit got me through work a lot. I used to work at a snack bar at the University of Michigan, the Mary Markley, what did we call it? Sub? I forgot even the name of it. It was in the basement of the lower level of the Mary Markley's freshman dorm. But I worked there even after my freshman year, and we would play music. It was whites there, blacks, Mexicans, and we would all take turn playing our music. So somebody would play metal, and we'd be like, okay, that's not that bad. I like that. And then be like, they would take the CD out, then be like, your turn. And I would burn CDs, and I would have my Portishead or Limp Bizkit. When I first discovered Limp Bizkit, I was like, damn, Faith and all that stuff. And, I talk about that era so much. My kids are like, are you going to talk about the 90s again? I'm that old guy now, but really, a lot of it was ignorance. So it was really this, but it was just more hidden. It was more, because it was hidden pretty much for everyone, we all kind of enjoyed stuff while this underbelly of evilness was just brewing and brewing and brewing and becoming more powerful. But yeah, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not trying to knock, and I'm coming from the standpoint of love here, literally, for even with the Jew conversation. I talk about the Jew because I have love for the Jew, just love for everyone else. And when I talk about the white, it's really coming more from a standpoint of the America that I know and respect and love and want to have for my kids is not going to exist with the white as they are today. It's just not. So part of it's selfish, but I'm not saying it to be like to diss the white. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what my position is. Yep. 2020, great comments. 2020 says whites have literally been taught to be nice. High civilization. You eat with the fork. You hold the door open. Chivalry. He gets us is the way that we look at Christianity. Meaning, it doesn't matter if you're a whore. You're still welcomed. You don't have to do anything. We welcome Nala. Remember we had the conversation about Nala. Now we're seeing a bunch of OF. We talked about that. If you can go from OF to, basically, I'm praising Jesus, and there's no kind of, you don't have to go hidden for a while. You put it overtly. You put your baptism out there, basically making money off of this while you leave up the OnlyFans, making money off of that. Then all the has been washed up OnlyFans girls are going to take that route, and we're seeing more of them do that. But my point is, we're taught to be like, that's not nice to talk about Nala that way. Well, I'm not here to be nice. But that's not, Christianity is not about being nice. And I'm not saying I'm some perfect Christian. I'm very rudimentary and not knowledgeable on my journey. But I am very confident in saying Christianity is not to be nice. That is not the point of the religion. It's not the point, he gets us. What? No, you need to get him. What are you talking about? And you're right, 2020, that's the problem. And who came in and did that? They outplayed everyone. The etymology origin of the word nice means ignorant, placated, foolish. I didn't really know that. That makes sense, though. Sorjak says Epstein funded the magazines that educated young women for the past 25 years. Yeah, man, it was that's how deep it goes. And we just keep getting caught up in the pedo stuff. And it's like, that's not even the most interesting part of this whole thing. Because a lot of the pedo stuff is like lies, misconstrued, and then it's like innuendo that it looks bad, but you couldn't lock somebody up over. But I don't, the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, she got locked up, but a lot of that stuff is still sealed. So I agree with you, Sorjak. Late 90s integration was golden age. Yeah, it was golden days, man. Yeah, that was it. 99 was probably the peak. I think 99 Woodstock was, and I didn't even think about it till recently, but looking back at it, there was a big controversy with the 99 Woodstock because it was kind of like a riot. It was 200,000 people at the air base in, where was it, Texas or wherever it was, and in 100-degree heat. And they were selling the bottles of water for $4, which would be like $10 now or something like that. But it got a bad rap, but it was poorly designed. But you saw how they got frightened. It was not only, white males with the mosh pit and everything. I can't even play it because I'll copyright it, but it was a sea of white men, young men, just moving and grooving, but like break stuff. I'll break your fucking face, and like all that, like the hard, that new metal, either Incubus, Papa Roach, Korn. Me and my wife listened to Korn, so Pantera wasn't in that, but Pantera. And I talked about Pantera because I saw them a couple years ago in Denver, man. And my wife and I, we had a great time. It was all the old heads, but it was really great. It was really good. It was much better than I thought it was. Going to a concert as an old head, it was dope. It was really dope. Lamb of God, Pantera. I forgot who the other one was, but man, that was peak, man. Because not only was it a sea of whites, the blacks weren't bothered by it. It wasn't like it was a sea of whites. In 99, I was there. It was never the take from blacks, like a mainstream black take at that time, because this was before Obama. It was never a mainstream take from blacks at that time that, oh, it's the sea of whites. No, you had Redman was on the album. Not Redman. Well, I don't know if it was Method Man was on the album. DJ Premier did the beat on there. On what was the name of the song? I forgot the. I know the beat. I forgot the name of the song, but and we would play it in the Mary Markley sub basement snack stop. We would be playing pool. People come in, get their burgers, make shakes. We're all listening to Limp Bizkit, Method Man, put some hip hop, Tupac on or whatever, and everybody was vibing with it. It was never a take of, oh, a 99 Woodstock is 200 white men. Oh no. I was there, guys. That was never a thing. Not that race wasn't a topic, but it was from a different angle. It was more just pro-black. And remember, Fugees were big back then. It was more that type of pro-black. Fugees were never anti-white like that. It was more like proud to be black, which if you're proud to be black, I'm proud for you. Show me in your culture. Yeah, that was peak, man. It's tough. It's nuanced topic because it was peak because of ignorance in a way, but it was still peak. It was still better. Go Chuck Yourself says, well, if white people do that, you will proclaim them. Well, I won't, but you're right. Yeah, but you can't be afraid of that. I mean, what are we going to stand for? I mean, well, how? How are we going to stand for that? Who cares if someone calls you racist? For what? Are the Jews racist? For wanting to have Jew babies, raping the white male taxpayers, being proud of it, canceling people? They have a whole organization designed. The only reason they wouldn't cancel me is because I don't have a big following. They have a whole organization designed, Stop Anti-Semitism, to call Ms. Rachel anti-Semitic. A woman that sings kids songs to kids. What? Who cares if they call racist? I mean, what's happening here? At some point, you have to say enough is enough. I'm going to take the fall for the family. Enough is enough. I'm going to take the fall to try to start the snowball moving of peaceful. We got to stop this. So yes, yeah, they'll be called racist, of course. Look at Tucker. Tucker isn't even naming the Jew. He's just asking questions, and they want him gone. What's his name? Called him one of the most dangerous people in the world, or whatever. Josh Hammer called him he's almost like they call him like a serial killer for asking questions. No, we have to name the Jew. No, it's not. It's not just about Zionists. It's multiple topics here. There are multiple topics here. And when we say that, I think people say that because what they're saying is it's not every Jew. Well, no shit. There's never a case in life where it's 100% everything. Like, that doesn't even exist. I mean, in certain basic aspects of life as we breathe oxygen, but this is not 100%. It is enough. Let me ask you this, Sorjak, because it's not meant to diss a Jew, every single Jew. Is it enough to say we have to talk about Zionism? Because Zionism includes non-Jews. And we have to talk about the Jew. Because what's the percentage of Jews that support a Jew ethno-state? Can you support a white ethno-state? What percentage of Jews support a Jew ethno-state and America being a white ethno-state? What percentage of Jews fall in both buckets? Give me a number. What do you think it is? We don't need to be scientific about this because I'm using survival IQ. I've seen enough. So I don't want to get into this. It's not the Jew. What do you mean it's not the Jew? We can talk about the Jeet, the black, or whatever. I don't need to hear that. It is about the Jew and it is about the Zionist. It's about both. I fully agree with that. Sorjak says Jesus is my guide, but church. Well, I don't want to say church is a demon, but it's just church is run by humans, and humans are sinners. So yeah. Go Chuck Yourself says you're not allowing me to call out Zionist influence over America. You're pathetic. Well, I'm perfectly fine with that. There are two different conversations, in my opinion. The etymology of the word nice literally means foolish. Yeah, we're being foolish. We're being played. Love this bands. Yeah, those bands back in the day were great. What other bands were they? Just all of it, man. We all fucked with each other in the late 90s. It wasn't even a problem. Blacks had Martin. We were going through the whole thing again, but it's hard not to look back and see. Blacks had In Living Color. Nobody had a problem with it. And you still had Saturday Night Live for everyone. It's culturally. Well, you're to blame because you claimed all white people are racist. Did somebody in the chat say that? And that's what the problem is. If you empower white people, they do the right thing for all of us. But you called us racist. But you just have to be able to maintain and protect what you created. You can't have Christians and Protestants fighting each other. The Jews don't do that. Like the non-Orthodox Jews, they don't really fight the Orthodox Jews like that. The Ben Shapiro Jews, they don't fight the Barry Weisses. They work together. Yeah, we're getting into the melting pot idea, and I do think that is nuance. I think the strength of the melting pot is that you melt into the structure that was created by white Christian men. That's the strength of the melting pot. It's not the strength. What we have now is just a melting pot that stands for nothing. That's not a strength. So I think we're on the same page there. Shorjack says, I've read the Bible, Quran, and the Talmud, is what you're referring to? I have not read the Quran. I've not read any of the Quran, and I have only seen pieces of the Talmud. If that's what you're talking about, Torah. What is the Tal? I haven't read it. So the Bible, I don't think I've read the whole Bible. I did Bible study every week for a long time, around 99. And it was a white guy who just came around and was like, hey, going to college dorms, and it's just like, hey, we can read the Bible every week. I never got through the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. I don't remember enough for it to be, well, I get, it left an imprint on me. I still talk about it a lot.
School shut down, and the majority Jewish school board then voted to sell it to a Jewish yeshiva for pennies on the dollar. Basically, the poorest, most vulnerable kids in these communities had their schools gutted and looted, all by a majority Jewish school board whose kids didn't even attend public school.
We believe that some of the decisions that have been made by the board have not been in the best interest of the public school community.
You don't like it? Find yourself another place to live.
How was your education?
My education, it was
You see the segregation. You don't like it, find another place to live.
decent, but it definitely could have been better if we had the resources that we were allowed to have. But again, for the past 10, 15 years or so, people have been purposely voting no on our school budget vote, so that way we had no funding and money for our school. And, that was done purposely.
And who was voting no?
Majority, the Jewish community.
While diverting that money to their private religious schools.
They give us food that's wrong.
That's just touching the surface on this, man. This is, I think it's about 90 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's just really good stuff. He touched a lot of topics on here. The State of the Union, I didn't cover what I wanted to. The State of the Union, kind of just doing some research here on kind of how it started. The State of the Union now, because I'm like, how did this thing start? I know for sure it didn't start as the same type of propaganda, but what was the story here? It's in the Constitution, I believe, that the president shall, from time to time, give the Congress information of the State of the Union. So it didn't have to be annual. It could have been monthly, weekly, or whatever. It does not have to be a public broadcast. Does not require a speech. It wasn't all the time. They didn't obviously have mass media back in the day. So it was very all hands-on, very written is what you got. I'm going to download this to upload it. But it was very hands-on, so that's what you got. And we're going to get to Woodrow Wilson. I'm just uploading the file. And a lot of stuff changed around Woodrow Wilson. Actually, one of the smartest presidents we've ever had. I know he used that for evil, but very bright. And now that I've encountered and read a little bit about him, very impressive. It's not easy to have the impact, whether it's bad or good. It's not easy to have the impact that he had. Impact alone is very difficult, especially from the president. I mean, the president has influence, but the way that the government's set up, it's not easy to be that powerful. So that's what we're referring to right now is this. Jefferson hated the speech from the throne optics because it reminded him of basically what the king used to do back in the day. It's pomp and circumstance. It's not substantial. When you get behind the podium, you're not going to be nuanced. You're not going to be detailed. You're not going to really be substantive. In 1801, Jefferson sent his message via courier. I know a lot of you aren't Jeffersonians, but I do like a lot of Thomas Jefferson. So I do disagree with some of the people who are against him. But it was basically very dense back in the day, technical. It was not something. So you would want to see State of the Union. If you were going to have a real State of the Union, what would we be talking about right now? We would be talking about war. Is war necessary or not? We'd be talking about the wars that, and Trump brought up some of the wars, he brought up Russia, Ukraine, and a little bit, just like he tried to say he made progress. He lied about the Middle East and said it's kind of winding down, but it's basically the same type of, it's winding down because they've already bulldozed basically with bombs the whole area of Gaza. But you would be talking about not just good things. And of course, you're going to talk about good things, but you would be talking about the State of the Union. And that's more obviously what it was. Woodrow Wilson resurrected this whole thing. This whole thing where you get on the podium and say this, it's basically what we have now. He was a political mastermind. The bifurcation strategy, administrative details, legislative agenda. So take the nuance, put it in the trash. I'm trying to get elected. I'm trying to move my agenda. And he believed you needed a physical presence, which he was right to do the propaganda. He stripped out all the boring data, the boring data that we need. And did basically similar to what we look at it as now. FDR did it when the radio came around, formalized State of Union in 1934. I believe that was Great Depression years. The rhetoric switched from I, executive, to we, national destiny. The audience bypassed Congress to speak directly to the American living room. So basically, the State of the Union, remember, in the Constitution, is to Congress. So you're supposed to really speak to and that's why they're all there in the joint session, is you're supposed to speak to the people through Congress. But he's just bypassing that now. It's just a joke. Because now it's everyone in Congress is basically either on your side or not. We already know where everyone stands. LBJ, after JFK got offed, brought it to primetime pivot. Viewership tripled instantly. So you see why, okay, if we're going to get behind the podium, well, throw away the administrative stuff, speak to the people, bypass Congress, and then we might as well put it on primetime. He used it to push his agenda. Now, it doesn't really push anything now. But you can get like a star being born from the rebuttal, maybe, but not from the president. Starting in 1966, the Republicans, Dirksen and Ford, they did the basically the opposition rebuttal type stuff that we see now. Sputnik, this was used to personify policy. So what we saw with Donald Trump is what everybody does now is they bring out, well, here's the war hero, here's the war veteran. It basically is something where Trump or whoever it is, Biden did the same thing where he can say, oh, are you not standing up to cheering for the war veteran or whatever? Basically emotionally shielding the policy and mistakes. The State of the Union is the only time the entire government is in one room. So that's what I was talking about earlier. I was like, when else does that happen? It doesn't happen. The designated survivor, well, yeah, it doesn't even happen in impeachment, does it? No, the justices are there, but it's just in the Senate. Designed survivor, oh, it does happen. Doesn't it happen during J6. But the designated survivor adds a layer of geopolitical reality and somber takes to the evening's pageantry. The theory of going public. So back in the day, the president basically did quiet negotiation with Congress. Now it's basically get the public riled up. That's what the SAVE Act. So you say the SAVE Act basically, part of it, the big part of it is the ID to vote. You say, well, it has no chance of passing. Well, it's probably a 70-30 issue in the country across all people, but it has no chance to pass because of the Democrats. So you rile up the public. So that's what it's about. It's like trying to get the public to be like, well, why wouldn't they support it? And then they pressure, which is, I think that's actually fair game. President's proposed legislation they know will fail. That's what we're talking about now. Why? To set up a narrative for the next election, campaigning against the do-nothing Congress. We get the same cycle. That's how Nick Fuentes was able to predict that we weren't going to get mass deportations because the whole thing is repetitive. It's the same cycle no matter what it is, Republican or Democrat. So 1790, spoken report, 1801. It was just written. That was the Jeffersonian. Wilson returns it back to a podium. FDR gets it behind the radio. LBJ made it prime time. And Skutnik was Reagan in 82. He was the Hollywood, so he knew what he was doing. Narrative control is what it is. But it wasn't always like this, always didn't have to be like this. Unsubscribed, now I'm out. Well, I appreciate you giving the channel a chance. Thank you. In the same year, we lost our sovereignty to a private bank, 1913. A lot went on in 1913. Yeah, it is true. I do agree with you, V twin breed. It's just mind-boggling how much has changed in the 250 years, but how much is still the same for better or worse. Yeah, that's well said. I feel exactly the same. You look at it like, okay, some things haven't changed, but then a lot has changed. It just depends. Yep. Well, I'm gonna head out. I think I covered everything. I didn't even cover the Negro one. I didn't even cover the Google mistake, which was kind of funny. If you don't know, there was somebody who said they had Tourette's. It's a weird thing, and it's the BAFTA. Is it BAFTA? I don't even know what it stands for. This was a award ceremony, and during the award ceremony, somebody with Tourette's was in the crowd, I guess, and just blurted out like it was like nigger, and it was you could hear it, but you didn't. If you didn't know, you probably wouldn't even know what they said. But it was while Michael B. Jordan and another famous actor, I forgot his name, they were doing some type of presentation of the award or something like that. And this just happened. And the guest's name was John Davidson. So they said it was an involuntary verbal tick. So it was an involuntary verbal tick by this dude. And I just I looked it up. John Davidson, who has Tourette's syndrome, and it was Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. Is that his name? I never knew his name, but I recognize that guy. They were presenting an award, and the clip, you kind of hear them talking, and an awkward "Nick" just comes out of the crowd from nowhere. You're like, what's going on? And they played it off well and just kept going. They didn't even acknowledge it. BAFTA says Davidson is a Tourette syndrome campaigner and an executive producer of the BAFTA-nominated film I Swear, which is based on his life experience. I didn't know that dropping the hard ER was a part of Tourette's. You learn something new every day. BAFTA says it warned the room. What did they warn the room of? Beware of the hard ER. It could be dropped at any moment. They warned the room audience before the ceremony began and throughout the night. So they probably just had it come across the ticker. I don't know what. Be careful how you say that. Throughout the night, Davidson was present that people might hear involuntary strong language or noises. BAFTA says Davidson chose to leave the auditorium during the ceremony and watch the rest elsewhere in the venue. They dragged that nigga out of there, allegedly. They took that nigga and just dragged him the hell up out of there. I guarantee you that. How did the BBC get dragged into it? Because it's on a 2-hour delay, but you didn't know what he said or whatever. The viewers and critics expected the delay. Who cares? It's just a word. Like, whatever. So they said other parts of the show were edited. The whole point of the delay, though, is for someone to hit the button. Basically, if you hear somebody shout something like that, you should probably hit the button. The problem is when you hit that delay button, at least before AI, I don't know what they have now, but back in the day, it's a radio delay button. It wipes everything out. So it would have kind of jumped and probably blocked out a lot of what they said. It wouldn't just get the N-bomb. But here's what happened with the Google thing. Google sent a push notification through the Google app about a Hollywood Reporter article. So, Google is just the feed of other articles, with the headline beginning, "How the Tourette's Fallout Unfolded at the BAFTA Film Awards." In the notification user interface, Google included a line that invited people to see more. And what the line said, I have it right here, it said, "How the Tourette's fallout unfolded at the BAFTA film, ... The Hollywood Reporter, see more niggers." So they're like, Google's like, I guess we got to apologize for this one. We're using AI. I'm familiar with AI slop. I mean, sometimes you got slop with your AI, and you don't edit it, you don't check it, and it's hard to, go back after a while to find out if it made a mistake, and you just roll with it. So Google pushed that out to everybody, and they said they removed the notification and apologized. It was only a very small subset of Google app users who received push notifications that got it. That'd be funny to get that one. Google told Entertainment Weekly that the systems recognized a euphemism for an offensive term across several web pages and accidentally used the offensive term in the notification text. Google told Entertainment Weekly that safety filters failed to trigger on the output, which is why it reached users. That's interesting. They said that it did not involve AI. Well, what did it involve then? They said, so if it's not AI, then it had to be human, or it was automated, and they're saying the automation wasn't AI. But I mean, it's obviously not a big deal. I just thought it was funny. They let the hard ER just drop out. Man, that's funny. That's too much for me, man. And then I did have one other topic. This is really not important, but I did watch a little bit of the Winter Olympics. I'm surprised I did watch some, which is perfectly fine. But I did watch some of the Winter Olympics, and there is this woman, and her name is, how do you pronounce her name? Is it Judah? Judah Leerdam. Fellows, are you familiar with her game? I'm just one of the objectively most attractive women I've ever seen in my life. So I'm watching the Olympics with my wife. It is kind of a little awkward because I'm like, she's doing her skiing thing or skating thing, but she's with Jake Paul, and she's put together pretty nicely. And then she won Olympic gold in the women's 1,000 meter. I think she won gold or silver in the women's 500. And the Dutch just dominate the skating. But so many people talk about her as extremely attractive. People do not talk about her looks in a vacuum. Attention comes from a stack of reinforcing factors. So I asked AI about it, like, what's the deal here? Reinforcing factors that the internet loves to mash together. She has a glam athlete presentation that's unusually consistent. True. She competes while keeping a very polished look, including makeup, and she's openly said that it makes her feel confident and feminine. True. Which guys absolutely respect. It's not even about the makeup, it's that she wants to look feminine, especially in sports when a lot of times the women want to be more masculine. That's not really attractive for most guys. So that does stand out. And then she has the camera. She's pretty tall. I think she's like 5'10" or something like that. And the whole thing is just the speed skating is filmed close. It's like you zoom in on all angles. Let's just say flattering angles is what ChatGPT said. It zooms in and repeatedly from flattering angles. And the race suits highlight athletic lines because they're extremely form-fitting by design. They're wearing, the tight outfit. She's got millions of followers online. The Jake Paul thing amplifies it. It's just, you see, this is the perfect storm. And she is just one of the, objectively, that I've seen, most attractive out there. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jake Paul, give him respect for his pull game. You don't know. A lot of people say that the attractive ones are the most crazy ones. Probably true. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, yeah, I know she exists, and there's no lies. No lies told there. So from the State of the Union address to Jutta, whatever her name is, that pretty much spans the whole night. This was Index Red.